Did you have the knife in your hand at that point?
No.
Where was the knife?
It was in my pocket.
Could you get up?
No.
Why not?
There was just so many people.
Note reads, we are hopelessly deadlocked, 11-1 on the charge of murder at count 1.
Hopelessly deadlocked. The jury returns for more deliberations this morning in the Preppy Party murder trial for Raul Valle. We're asking the question, does the defendant regret not taking a plea? Plus, a possible sighting in the Idaho woods of the accused daughter killer Travis Decker. It's been more than a month since he went missing, so we're wondering, how real is this spotting? Also coming up this hour, we are spotlighting Little Harmony, Montgomery, as we have a brand new filing done by our friend, Judge Carol Erskine. She's requesting that the FBI launch a new civil rights investigation into the death of the 5-year-old. And she's joining us live this morning to talk about it. Plus, a body language expert breaks down the demeanor of defendant Karina Cooper. This is the widow's words murder trial. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Tuesday morning to you and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. Are you ready for some coffee and some court? That's what I like to say this show is. It's morning time. We get all warmed up together and ready for the big day ahead on Court TV Live. And trust me, it is a big day and we've got a great show planned. So grab that cup of coffee right now. It's time for my opening statement. He reportedly got a standing ovation in the jail after his acquittal. But things will be much more orderly today when Diddy's case is back in federal court for a pre-sentencing hearing. My friends, I've been getting a lot of questions about this. And so this morning, I'm kind of going into what my colleagues like to call Julie's professor mode this morning. I'm going into my professor mode to kind of explain what's ahead for Diddy and what's going to happen today. So today's hearing is to figure out whether his sentencing should happen sooner than the current calendar date of October 3rd. Now, if you ask Diddy, he'd be sentenced today. He'd be sentenced right now if the court would allow it. But that's not going to happen. The judge is not going to allow that because the judge already told Sean Combs and his legal team that Diddy cannot waive what's called a pre-sentence investigation, or if you hear people use the initial PSI. Okay, this is where the U.S. Probation Department, or if it's a state case, State Probation Department, is going to dig deep into a defendant's past. So they're going to go deep into Diddy's past. They're going to speak to him. They're going to speak to lots of people in his life. And then they're going to produce a big report all about it. And this PSI will cover everything in his past, from any criminal history to his history of drug abuse to any mental health concerns, his family support system, all of it. It's a really comprehensive report. Once it's done, it's likely that Diddy will then get part of his wish and his sentencing date will be moved up. Now, as for his other wish, which is for a very lenient sentence, we can't be so sure. So this PSI is going to help determine what amount of prison time Combs' sentencing guidelines call for. Yes, there are sentencing guidelines that the judge uses as just that, as a guide in formulating the appropriate sentence for Sean Combs' crimes. So we're going to need to wait and see on that. And I hope this little explainer this morning helps. In the meantime, Diddy is staying locked up. The judge decided that. But fortunately for him, he gets credit for all the time that he's serving. And my friends, who knows? If his PSI turns out to be a favorable one, maybe he'll get another standing ovation in the meantime, too. That is my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
So as I start to probe whether there was any infidelity or thoughts of infidelity, those kinds of things, she mentions Houston Danker as someone that she had cut hair for.
And that there had been rumors that they were having an affair?
She said yes. Everybody around town had rumored that she and Houston were having an affair.
In Iowa, we've got the state's case continuing in the widow's words murder trial for defendant Karina Cooper. Court's going to start up at 10 a.m. Eastern time. In New York, we've got the case I was just talking about. Sean Diddy Combs back in court this afternoon. He's got that pre-sentencing hearing that starts up at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And in Connecticut, we are in a verdict watch in the murder trial for Raul Valle. This one we're calling the Preppy Party murder trial. The jury sending a note Monday to the judge saying they are hopelessly deadlocked on the murder count. Now, this after just 2 hours of being in that deliberation room.
The note reads, we are hopelessly deadlocked, 11-1, on the charge of murder at count 1. I did receive a note from you regarding count 1 and the fact that you are deadlocked on count 1. Each of the 4 counts must be deliberated upon separately. If you would like to deliberate on counts 2, 3, and 4, and then return to count 1, that is fine. At this point, I simply suggest that you continue with your deliberations.
So the jury went home for the day after deliberating for 5 hours, still not reaching a verdict. Valle's charged with 1 count of murder and 3 counts of aggravated assault. Remember, 4 people were stabbed. 1 of them died. This incident happened back in May of 2022. And the jury could convict him of something lesser, like manslaughter. Valle was 16 years old at the time. He claims he was protecting himself from a group of teenagers who jumped on him and his friend. 3 of the teens survived the stabbings, but 17-year-old star lacrosse player Jimmy McGrath died from his injuries. Now, Valle's looking at up to a maximum of 60 years in prison if he's convicted of murder. Now, jury deliberations resume at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and we know that Valle was twice offered a plea deal of 40 years. Should he have taken it? Let's bring in our legal expert this morning. He is a 2-time former United States attorney. He's also a former state-level prosecutor, and now he's in the private sector doing criminal defense work. He's in high demand. William Ehlenfeld is with us. William, good morning to you. Let's start with the plea deal, if you don't mind, please. So a lot of people are wondering, ooh, should this guy have taken the deal, or should he be encouraged that he didn't take the deal because this jury is still deadlocked? What do you think, please?
Good morning, Julie. I think at this point in time, the defense is feeling pretty good. The fact that just 2 hours into the deliberation, and that's really fast after a 9 or 10 day trial to say that you're hopelessly deadlocked, but just 2 hours in to have that sort of division among the jury, I think it is causing the defense, the defendant and his attorney to feel pretty good about the fact that they didn't take that deal. I'm not quite sure where the jury is on counts 2, 3, and 4. I guess if I had to make a bet, I would say that they aren't divided on those counts. They've made their minds up there. It's the top count, it's the murder count where they've got that 11-1 division. So if I'm the defense attorney in this case, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like I advised my client in the right way not to take a 40-year deal. That's a long time for anyone, whether you're 20 years old or you're an old man like me. That's a long time to go away. And so I think they're feeling like they made the right decision in going to trial.
Sure. William, do you think that a lesser sentence could have perhaps been appropriate in a plea agreement for him because of his age and because of the question of whether it was a justifiable homicide?
I do, yeah. I think this was a case that maybe called for something less than a 40-year plea offer, because at the end of the day, this case comes down to, was use of this knife necessary and proportionate. Those are the words that the judge gave to the jury when she instructed them the other day. Was use of the knife necessary and proportionate? And this was chaotic. This was a wild scene. This was a mob scene. And you have these witnesses. And of course, the state didn't know necessarily how these witnesses were going to perform once they got on the stand at trial. But as you've covered here on your show, there are a lot of inconsistencies in the statements of these witnesses. And if the state had any kind of inclination that those inconsistencies were going to come across on the witness stand, they probably should have considered something less. And you also pointed out the defendant's age. That's something to consider here when you're making an offer as the prosecutor. And I think it's something that's definitely weighing upon the jury. They're thinking about what they were like when they were 16, 17, 18 years of age, how they might have reacted to this. And I think they're feeling a little bit of sympathy for this defendant. And he came across, I think, more genuine than performative when he testified. I think that was the right call to put him on the stand. I was asked the other day on your show, you weren't here, but your guest host asked me, and I said, yeah, I'd roll the dice. I'd put him on the stand. And I think that turned out to be the right decision.
William, I'm with you. We have a clip for anybody who might have missed it. Let's take a look at Raul Valle on the stand where he did get very emotional.
What did you see Tyler Da Silva doing?
He was also on the ground getting beat on.
Why didn't you just get in that car and leave?
I saw my best friend, somebody that loved. Nobody was helping him.
Yeah, jury saw a lot of tears from that young man who's 20 years old now. And looking at the other possibilities for the jury, there are other options for them as they're in that deliberation room. One lesser included could be first-degree manslaughter, another first-degree reckless manslaughter. I believe there may be some more. Is that okay? I'm being told this is all the lessers. Okay, so William, in your experience, have you seen juries sometimes split the baby, so to speak, if they can't quite agree? You know, if the top count sticks, have you seen them sometimes fall to the lesser includeds as a happy medium?
Yeah, I've seen that on many occasions where there's a compromise reached in that jury room. And you obviously, as the prosecutor or a defense attorney, I'm not in the jury room, but sometimes the judge will allow the attorneys to sit around and talk to the jury afterwards. The judge might ask questions and we get to listen. So you kind of get to see what they were talking about inside that jury room. And they do compromise. And, you know, right now they say that they're hopelessly deadlocked, and hopelessly is a pretty strong word. I wouldn't be surprised if whoever that one is kind of bows down to the pressure of the 11 when they return to the jury room this morning. But they could also reach a compromise and they could come up with something lesser than the murder charge. But, you know, when you listen to the instructions and the self-defense argument and the way that law works, that, you know, I think if the jury really believes that this was self-defense, I don't think they want to convict him of anything. So this is a little bit more difficult for a compromise verdict to be reached, I think, because of the self-defense argument. It's a little bit unique. So I'm not sure that we'll see that here. But to answer your question, yes, it does happen all the time because juries want to try to reach some sort of an agreement to get the case completed and get out of there and get back to their lives.
Mm-hmm, definitely. It's such great and helpful insight you're sharing with us, William. Let's take a look at the arguments. We have a little bit of a mashup, as we call it, of some from the state of Connecticut and then some from the defense counsel. Here we go.
This case is about Raul Valle, the defendant, who brought a knife and provoked a fight and stabbed 4 kids 9 times, killing 1.
They were intent on pummeling him, and no way to know whether or not that was going to stop until he was dead. This is what self-defense looks like. There's no manual for self-defense.
Oh boy, a tough case, as you know, William. Tell me, looking at both sides' arguments, is there one side that you think has a more persuasive legal position?
Yeah, and I think it was summed up there by the defense attorney's statement. This is what self-defense looks like. It's messy, it's chaotic. There is no manual for it. I think that is more persuasive than the prosecution's argument here. And I don't think we saw it in that clip, but in another part of the closing argument by the prosecution, he sort of almost gave in on the fact that perhaps it wasn't, perhaps it was self-defense with the other 3 individuals in the non-homicide counts, the 3 individuals who were stabbed but not killed. He said, but it absolutely was not self-defense with the young man who was killed. So the prosecution almost gave away those other 3 counts, which is what makes me think perhaps the jury has already decided that they're going to find not guilty verdicts on the other 3 counts, and then it's the murder count where they're stuck on the 11-1. So I think this is a very defensible case. There have been so many inconsistencies in the testimony, and that's to be expected when you have all of these young people as your witnesses. So a positive for the prosecution is that there's a lot of witnesses to this to come in and talk about it. But that's also a negative at the same time because you have a lot of inconsistencies, you have a lot of different perspectives, and these are young people who are more inclined to maybe be a little more inconsistent because of their age.
Attorney William E. Linfeld, a brilliant analysis as always. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule for us this morning. We'll look forward to having you back soon. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, here's what's next on Opening Statements.
Travis, if you're listening, this is your opportunity to turn yourself in. Do the right thing, do what you need to do, and take accountability for your actions. We're not going to go away, we're not going to rest, and we're going to make sure we find you. You will be brought to justice.
That massive manhunt continues this morning for the man accused of killing his 3 daughters. And this morning we're wondering, was Travis Decker really spotted in the Idaho woods? Plus, we're spotlighting little Harmony Montgomery. We haven't forgotten about her. And now there's a brand new filing requesting that the FBI look into the 5-year-old's death. Our friend Judge Carol Erskine made that filing. She's joining us live this morning.
Matriarch of the Adelson family gets arrested.
Donna Adelson is facing charges of murder, the death of her former son-in-law, Dan Markell.
Prosecutors say a bitter child custody battle was the motive for the murder-for-hire plot. Now that Donna has turned into a defendant, what's next for the Adelson clan?
Now that the ship is really sinking fast, blood doesn't matter that much.
The Matriarch Mastermind murder trial. Live coverage begins this August on Court TV.
Since we've seen the senseless violence and the act towards Evelyn, Peyton, and Olivia, we certainly feel that he's a danger to the community, and we're looking forward to having him in custody.
As the search for Travis Decker enters week number 6, a possible sighting has this case trending. A fugitive task force in Idaho received a tip on Saturday describing a man consistent with that of Decker near Sawtooth National Forest. Now, this guy's been on the run since June 2nd. He remains the focus of an extensive manhunt still in the Pacific Northwest. Police are claiming that he killed his 3 little girls, all of them under the age of 10. Now, here are the last 2 sightings of Travis Decker. June 10th near the Cascade Range in Washington. Saturday over 500 miles away in a national forest in Idaho. So we're wondering this morning, what's the likelihood that that Travis Decker sighting in Idaho is real? Let's bring in private investigator and former military veteran in NYPD, Detective Manuel Gomez. Manuel, good morning to you. You've done such a great job walking us through this case. You've got all the special training and experience. You told us earlier that this guy has the same kind of training from his service in the military as well. So what do you think the likelihood is that that's actually Travis Decker that somebody saw?
I think it's very high that it's him. And the reason why is, like I said before in my past interviews with you, he is using military tactics. He's surviving, he's escaping the enemy, he's evading them. And if you notice in one of the pictures you showed in the beginning of the segment, you show him walking with a cell phone. Now, him coming out into the public area is to catch a Wi-Fi to most likely see any intelligence he can gather. The news is projecting and there you go, the cell phone is in his hand. The news is projecting exactly where they are searching. Now, as a soldier, he knows to evade the enemy. So he's gonna take that intelligence and go in a different direction. This is why he left that state. I don't understand, Julie, why we have not activated the National Guard, Special Ops, and Special Force teams to come out and hunt this guy down. I don't understand why you have not heard the Chelan County or the marshals say that. You need these people because the law enforcement is not properly trained to hunt this guy down. And this is the kind of guy that you're not going to bring him in. You're going to wind up most likely getting into a shootout and you're going to wind up having to kill this guy.
Yeah, you know, great point, Manuel. And you're really speaking from experience. So you were an Army intelligence officer, and we thank you for that service. And you've also served in the NYPD, so going through the academy there. Very different types of training, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's the problem. The training that we have, that this man has, is not capable by the police departments. They don't fully understand what they're dealing with. This is why we need to bring in the National Guard assets to hunt this guy down. When we do SEER school in the 18th Airborne, you have to have maybe 100 soldiers go in a straight line through one massive area, and then they hunt a guy down like that. And they do it sector by sector until you run into him. This is not being done here. And the fact the media is actually hurting their investigation because they're announcing where they are looking for him. And trust me, with that cell phone, he is gathering intel. We need to stop announcing it of where we're searching. And we need to show that he's wanted, but stop showing the search areas.
That's really, really smart. You know, thinking about that, that's where, you know, law enforcement has a responsibility, right, you know, obviously to the public, but to the integrity of the investigation. And surely I would hope they're not giving away all of the secrets as to where this guy could be and where they're looking. Great points, Miguel. Manuel. Let's do this next talking point here. So you've told us about how this guy has the special set of skills to evade law enforcement, to survive in the wild. We got a kick out of it that day. Manuel, you brought the bug out bag on the show, and we saw you pulling out all the things, and you're like, this guy absolutely probably has these same things. We talked a little bit about this with the Chelan County Sheriff, Mike Morrison. He came on last month, so this was kind of early in the investigation. There's the things from the bug out bag. Let's take a listen to some of what the sheriff shared with me.
We're not seeing a lot of criminal history. We do see that he had some time when he was in the military, and it sounds like that ended probably on terms that he wasn't expecting or wanting. But overall, in talking with other individuals, it just sounded like he was a regular person, kind of trying to figure out his way into society after his time in the military. The marshals today offering a reward of up to $20,000. Maybe they'll increase it. We'll see. That's for information leading to this guy's capture. 2 sightings, alleged sightings so far, countless hours. The guy's still on the run. Will he be found alive? Is he even alive, or is he dead? Who better to ask than our expert guest, Manuel Gomez. Manuel, what do you think about that? For people that think, this guy is somewhere dead, don't worry about it. What do you say?
Well, there's no doubt in my mind that he's alive. And one of the descriptions in Idaho, they described his tattoos, and they apparently, according to the interrogation, they did not see them before, so the account of the tattoos were correct. But one of the things that I know that it's him is because they described the black bug out bag, kind of like what you just showed, except he had a black military one on his back. Okay, this guy is walking on the areas that people don't walk, like on the ATV roads. He's surviving out there. He is not killed himself. I can guarantee you this man's alive. And now that he knows that they're searching that area in Idaho, most likely, he is now going to go to the next state. This is why we need to do a statewide coordination in the 3-state area, have the National Guard assets move in on this guy with the special ops teams to search him down. You can't keep using law enforcement. They don't have the skills. And that's the problem. You know, you got cops looking for this guy who was trained to evade them. That's what he was trained to do. This is what he did in the military. That's what I did. And this guy's not going to kill himself. He's doing everything to survive. That's the whole thing of his skills.
Brilliant analysis. I got to tell you, we keep saying in our newsroom, send Manuel, he'll find him. He'll find the guy.
I would love to be part of that.
Yeah, no, we know you could. Well, you're a busy guy, and you have your own Black Ops private investigations is what you're doing now. I should have mentioned that when we introduced you. You do lots of private investigations in the U.S. and elsewhere. But we appreciate you lending us your insight. Thank you so much. We'll leave it there now. Manuel Gomez, we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Still ahead here on Opening Statements. Here's what we've got.
He struck her blow after blow after blow. He assaulted and he murdered because of that rage.
Here the child died, but I would direct...
The child didn't just die. The child was killed after the child was given to the person, the state delivered the child to the person who killed.
We're spotlighting little Harmony Montgomery and the many failures around her short life here on Earth. We have some of the best advocates for Harmony joining us live next. We have the Honorable Carol Erskine joining us and Harmony's little brother Jameson's adoptive parents. They're all fighting for justice for Harmony, and we'll talk about the latest quest with them next. Plus, what does defendant Karina Cooper's body language tell us? We have an expert coming on the show.
Here the child died, but I would direct...
The child didn't just die. The child was killed after the child was given to the person, the state delivered the child to the person who killed him, right? And that was a father.
Harmony Montgomery back in the spotlight this morning now that a former Massachusetts judge has filed a federal complaint requesting an FBI investigation into Harmony's murder. The Honorable Carol Erskine wants investigators to look at New Hampshire's Division of Children, Youth, and Families and find out if workers falsified records relating to Harmony's case. Recently, New Hampshire awarded Harmony's mother, Crystal Sori, $2.5 million to settle her wrongful death lawsuit against the state. Judge Erskine says she feels like that's an attempt to cover up why Harmony was placed with her father, Adam Montgomery, despite information that she wouldn't be safe with him. Now, Adam Montgomery, you may recall, is locked up. He's serving 56 years to life in prison for killing his beautiful daughter. So let's talk about this request for a federal civil rights investigation. Who better to do it than the people I call Harmony's best advocates? So I'm going to welcome in retired juvenile court judge Carol Erskine now. She also handled the adoption of Harmony's little brother Jameson. And we have Jameson's adoptive parents, Blair and Jonathan Miller, with us as well. They've been outstanding advocates for Harmony too. Good morning to you all. Judge, let's start with you, please. Why do you think that award of money is part of a cover-up?
Well, good morning, first of all, Julie. Thanks for having me on. The reason that I say it's part of a cover-up is because $2.5 million is basically what it costs to keep the secrets of what happened to Harmony hidden. I mean, the true fact is that Harmony's case with the Department of Children, Youth, and Families has been covered up for quite some time. And the settlement in the civil suit is an agreement that for $2.5 million, the state has no liability and no wrongdoing. So for me, $2.5 million is the price of silence. And I just wasn't going to let that happen, which is why I'm pursuing a federal investigation under the color of law, which allows for criminal prosecution.
And Judge, your point of view is that Harmony's civil rights very well may have been violated by these DCF workers when they were coming to the home to check on her. Would you tell us a little more, please?
Right. I make the argument that her due process rights were violated in two ways. Procedural due process, which was what happened on July 29, 2019, the day that Harmony could have lived had the investigation been done properly. It was a requirement by law that there be an immediate investigation when there was an allegation of a dangerous physical assault, giving her a black eye by her father. But even though the governor's report states that Harmony was seen that day and that there was, by law, they complied by notifying the police, what happened actually was that she wasn't evaluated, that Adam Montgomery received a call saying they were coming to evaluate her. he grabbed Harmony, he took her out of the house, and he fled with her so that she couldn't be seen. And then the police were notified that Harmony was seen and that there were no injuries. That was a severe violation of her due process right to a fair investigation. And it was actually the day she could have lived had it been done right. But I make the allegation that it may have been deliberate, that he was warned, and therefore she wasn't seen. She wasn't actually seen until sometime in August when the bruising was gone.
It's so heartbreaking, Judge, as you know. Thank you for all of that. Blair and Jonathan, I want to turn to you both now. You have been advocating for Harmony since, gosh, by the time, my gosh, we're going back years, when you first learned that she was missing. So this has just been, a torturous period of time for you all, till you found out about her death, the prosecution. And now I know that it's very important to you both to continue advocating for her. So I'd like to ask why, where that drive comes from. And I would love for you both to answer. Whomever would like to start first, go right ahead, please.
Julie, good morning. I'll start. So for us, it's so important because Harmony mattered. She was a child. She was more than just a paycheck. She mattered to our son, Jameson. And if we don't stop this and protect the most vulnerable children in America that are at the most risk, this is going to continue to happen. It's going to continue to be more of Harmony's stories. And we don't want that. This should have never happened, and we don't want it to happen to another child.
I think we constantly are thinking, what would Jameson want us to do? And hopefully we're doing that because, yes, he's 8 years old today, but when he is 15, 16, 17, 18, and through his life, he's going to be asking questions. What did my dads do to protect my sister? But more importantly, at this point, what's being done to make sure this doesn't happen again? And the fact of the matter is nothing.
And I know that angers you both, and I applaud you for your advocacy and your interest and your passion for this. I want to share with anybody who may not know, you both would have been willing to take Harmony. So I want to go back to when she was alive. You two, I say you guys are like angels, and I really mean that. And if it weren't for you, who knows what would be happening with Jameson right now. But when you were adopting him, I know that you were willing to take Harmony too, but legally she wasn't available for an adoption because Adam Montgomery had asserted his parental rights and he had custody. So that being said, when we think about Jameson and what a precious little angel he is, I mean, his birthday today, how much does he know, Jonathan and Blair? How much do you share with him? Because obviously this is very adult and very upsetting, but I know you both do a tremendous job being transparent as you can with your beautiful kids.
So we have a team that helps us with Jameson, or professionals, including his doctor, what's age appropriate. And for him, he knows that someone didn't take care of Harmony, so she passed away. But we always try to honor her on her birthday month. For instance, this month, for this year, for her birthday, he said, what can we do to remember her? And we talked about it, and her glasses are very special to him. So we collected glasses. We collected over thousands of pairs of glasses that we're going to donate to children that actually aren't able to pay for prescription eyewear.
And people sent this to us, and so we're so thankful that. But Julie, this pops up. His sister will pop up in ways we never really expect. And while we try to honor her, it's not unusual for a teacher to call us and say, "Today Jameson drew a picture of Harmony," or "Today he said my sister is no longer alive." And he's very, very matter of fact, and he doesn't really sugarcoat some of these things. But yes, we try to have age-appropriate conversations with him, but he knows that that's she's no longer with us. But we try to remember it as best we can.
He's on the swim team, and he told his coach, she asked if he had a sister. He said, "I have two brothers." He goes, "Well, I do have a sister, but she's in heaven watching us right now." And he actually got the coach's award for the swim team this summer, so we're really proud of him.
Oh, congratulations and happy birthday to adorable Jameson, and it's wonderful that he's able to live such a beautiful life with your family. Thank goodness for that. And I know you will all keep us posted as developments come. For anyone looking for more information, the justicefile.com, is that right, Judge Erskine? The Justice File, is that the website you have launched?
Yes, it's called thejusticefile.com. There's a 3-part series talking about how her due process rights were violated and how for 3 months they never allowed Harmony to see a doctor or a specialist or be in school, how she was isolated for 3 months, and how DCYF chose not to provide any protection for her whatsoever. So that's the basis of my filing. Met with the FBI last Tuesday, so we'll see what happens.
I know you'll keep us posted. Thank you all for the great advocacy for Harmony. Our courties love Harmony and love seeing how Jameson is able to live his best life. So Judge, Blair, Jonathan, thank you so much for this conversation. Also, if you want more information, thejusticefile.com, you can read about this. And please, pick up Judge Erskine's book, A Cruel Injustice. Proceeds go to the Dave Thomas Adoption Foundation. When we come back, we're going to be turning our attention to one of our cases we've been broadcasting this week, the Widow's Words murder trial. Karina Cooper, very expressive. What's a body language expert say?
And found shot in the face after his wife reportedly said that she wanted him dead.
Could her own words end up sealing her fate?
That smoking gun could not stay hidden forever.
The Widow's Words murder trial. Live coverage today on Court TV. This week.
Getting you ready for the day's testimony in the Widow's Words murder trial. Plus, the latest developments in the biggest cases from across the country.
Opening statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
Now, for what's tipping the scales in the Widow's Words murder trial, Iowa mother Karina Cooper accused of murdering her husband Ryan Cooper with the help of her lover, allegedly. Prosecutors say it was all a scheme to collect $500,000 in life insurance money. Karina Cooper found sitting on top of her husband, blood-soaked. On Monday, we were able to hear the words that she used on the 911 call. Today, we're bringing in a body language expert to see about her demeanor, her movements, her expressions. Let's take a look. All right, we've got some pretty incredible testimony for our next guest to dissect. Let's welcome him in. Body language expert Rodney Smith is with us. Rodney, good to see you. What did you see there in that first clip, her listening to her own 911 call?
Well, at the onset and having the opportunity to be able to see some of the other clips of her, this appears to be very forced, almost staged. She gives this impression that she's more in pain than she is actual sadness and grief. When we look at her forehead area, as she is actually grimacing and covering her mouth, which was interesting because I assumed that if she was crying, she would more so be covering her eyes, trying to wipe tears away. But in this particular situation and circumstance, we see more of a furrowing of the brow, which means that the eyebrows and the forehead areas lowering and covering the eyes, as opposed to the inward and the upward pull that we would see with that grief muscle contracting for sadness. She pretty much stays in this area for about 4 or 5 minutes, roughly. And I would imagine that to be able to hold and keep that position for that amount of time, she should be exhausted afterwards if she were actually crying and putting out that level and that amount of grief.
Wow, wow. Like it would be taxing on her body to hold that stance. Wow, that's incredible, Rodney. Let's look at another clip. So this is where one of her friends is on the stand. And at the very end of the clip is where she visibly reacts. Let's watch.
We talked about how I shot
my Ruger 9, and I didn't like the kickback, that it kicked back really bad. And then I had shot my mother-in-law's baby 22, and that it was just like so smooth. And just how the correspondence of that was so different. And then she said the same thing. She's like, I just got a 22 as well, like, and it shoots so smooth. I understand what you're talking about. You know, like, we just kind of talked about that.
Okay, Rodney, what do you see there?
Well, the witness on the stand is actually speaking to the best of her knowledge. She even at some point in time mentions that she's paraphrasing. So the words are not going to be exact, but what we see is Karina's giving this intent focus. She's almost in a trance-like state, as though she's watching a movie and waiting for the suspense to finally come. But once she hears something that she finds to be unappealing or something that she dislikes, she starts to shake her head no left and right as to show that she is not in agreement with what she's saying. And then she gives a measure of contempt right at the end, where we see the left corner of her mouth pulled backwards, which is the only asymmetrical microexpression in the 7 universal microexpressions. And she brings down her brows and lowers them also as a bit of anger or confusion.
Fascinating insight from you as always, Rodney. Let's look at another one. That same friend, and again, at the end of the clip is where we really see her expressions.
And there was times where she would rant about him and talk about how, you know, he was always off working and doing all this stuff, and she would just get like angry about it. And at one of our conversations, she's like, we talked about, I'm going to paraphrase because I don't remember exactly her words, but it was like talking about if she would leave, she would try to take him for everything he had.
Oh, there was the look at the end there that turns to the lawyer. Okay, Rodney, you saw a lot there, I'm sure. Go ahead, please.
So on the witness side, she in actually this clip, she does mention that she's paraphrasing, and we see her looking around. That is what we would identify as a transderivational search, where she's actually searching to find the words that she needs because she's not exactly certain as to how to say them. At the same time, we see Karina giving this look of contempt. She's this stone face, She gives this impression she's not exactly enjoying what she's hearing, but once she finally hears the final sentence, she looks to the attorney in what we would call surprise or awe. And it's more of surprise than fear, because in surprise, the mouth will actually drop open and show almost a circular motion, as opposed to fear, where sometimes the corners of the mouth will stretch and go linear from side to side. So she looks in disbelief, and then she looks to her attorney almost as to, can you believe this? How dare she say something in this regard about me?
Yeah, that look, it was so intense, wasn't it? Like I was looking at her forehead while she was staring, and it just seemed like maybe she was getting a little bit angry, like there was a buildup. Did it seem that way? Kind of like, and she kind of, at the end.
It does. In comparison of some of the other clips, we noticed that she's a little bit more paler, but in that one you actually see it looks like she's got a little bit more blood flow to the face, which she could be actually, I guess, more so angering herself, because with microexpressions, it's been determined that in some aspects of holding certain facial expressions for so long, you will actually start to feel that emotion being triggered within the body.
Oh, that is fascinating. Rodney Smith, we could talk to you all day, but you're a busy guy. We have to let you go. Thank you for such great insight and analysis this morning. We're going to see more of Karina Cooper in just a short while. Thank you for watching Opening Statements.